Welcome to the Wildspire Conversations podcast. You get to be a fly on the wall for my intimate coaching sessions with inspiring entrepreneurs who are changing the world. I'm your host, Stephanie Benedetto Padovani, wild creation coach and soul storyteller at The Awakened Business, where I help coaches, therapists, and creative entrepreneurs craft an irresistible message and broadcast it to the world. In each conversation, I'll ask curious, playful questions, challenging us to connect with the deeper purpose and joy of what we're here to do. We may experience one or more of the following: articulation of their soul's message and mission, life-changing stories, insights, ahas, and wisdom nuggets, ideas for new products, services, or businesses. Truth is, I have no idea exactly what will emerge, because there's no agenda for this conversation. Anything can happen when we step into the unknown of infinite creativity, and that's where we're going to play. It's time to get wild-spired. My guest today is Maggie Sarfo. I met Maggie at a Soul Fair retreat in Sedona, Arizona, where we were both presenting, and we reconnected afterward. I have been continually impressed with her powerful networking talents, the energy and strategic visioning that she brings to her business. It's really quite exceptional, and you will get a chance to experience that in our conversation. Now, Maggie Sarfo is a passionate author, speaker, and advisor for inspirational business leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, with a special interest in technology, B2B, women in business, and high-growth companies embarking on ambitious growth strategies and people transformation. She's CEO of Mary's Consult Limited and Regional Director of the Athena Network, City of London. For over 18 years, she's inspired business leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals for growth. She takes a personal interest in ensuring that every business she works with is hugely profitable, if you can call that an ambition, and I do believe you can. Her work with world-class advisory and firms like Gartner, WPP, GLG, Blake Morgan, LLP, and the Wellness Universe led to partnering with and over-delivering on numerous growth and people transformation programs, the majority of which involved enabling clients to be hugely successful in their roles or transitioning into entrepreneurship and other ways of being. As a certified Akashic Records Consultant, she also works with clients to identify and develop their true purpose or mission and align this with life, business, career, and relationships. She holds an MBA and is a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development in the UK. Without further ado, I introduce you to Maggie Sarfo. So Maggie, it is such a pleasure to have you here today. I'm very excited to learn more about you, what you're creating in the world, and see what we might get up to in creation in this conversation together. Are you ready?
I am really excited as well, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're welcome. So my first question for you, and all answers and are welcome here, if you could get one thing out of this conversation we have today that would be really amazing, that would be extraordinary, what would it be?
For me, it will be a bit of an aha moment. I know you're a big fan of messaging, and for me, I think messaging evolves, and the more I can share my message with others and get their reaction or their inputs, the more evolved my messaging becomes. So no, hopefully it's not a tall order, but any kind of aha moments or those inkling moments that come through, when you're having moments like these, I think they're really, really important. So want to go with the flow with you and see what comes out of it. And I know there will be some kind of aha moment coming through for us.
Cool. So, and I love tall orders, by the way, Maggie. Please make as many tall orders as your little heart, big heart desires. Like that's absolutely welcome.
Great.
So, what would be the tall order that you'd like to, how would you express that around your messaging? Like, what would it be like to get an aha in your messaging? How would you know that you got it?
For me, it's about the response from others. because what I find is most of the time we know, or we think we know, what we are saying out there, we are taking out there. But at the end of the day, especially our messages are what we put out there to attract others so we can be of service to them and ourselves. And so for me, the tall order, or the tallest order, would be the reaction, the message we kind of discuss or come up with or refine, but also the reaction that it gives others in terms of how they respond to the message.
Cool.
For me, that's
okay.
That's
so
what I think ultimately my messages are for. It's about the audience and how they respond to it, and that helps me kind of know that I'm on track.
So here's what occurs to me, and tell me what you think about this.
Yes.
So we don't have someone to respond other than me. Like, you've got me, and I will, absolutely.
You are the audience.
Yes, I am the audience. Well, we don't have necessarily, and maybe I am actually also your audience. I don't know. We'll discover.
Yeah.
But here's my inclination, and tell me what you think. So this is really cool, and I'm so glad that you brought this up. So there are different ways to message, and this is part of what I'm exploring with people, with my client playmates, as I call them, and for myself going deeper into this, is that what I'm finding is that the more authentic and the more raw, not raw as in it's unclear, it's clear and potent, but it's like just the less crap is layered on the message, and it's more just like, what is Maggie here to do in the world? The closer we get to that, the more magnetic it is, and the less of the formulas we need to actually apply, because like the energy of it is just so powerfully resonant. So if it's okay with you, I would love to get an experience myself of what that is that you do, the change that you're creating in the world, with your clients, like that they get on board with, whether they know it or not, they are responding to that in your messaging. And perhaps in there we can find some of those ahas or kernels or nuggets that you can take and go, oh, wow, yeah. I mean, and maybe not. We'll see. I love the tall order. We don't know.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
Yeah. So I enable people to connect to their true selves, which I call their soul's blueprint. And from there, they make decisions that impact them in a positive way that enables them to live on, to their highest potential. And then from this space, it also allows them to make decisions, as I said, that impacts them to their highest potential. But this could be in relation to their lives in general, to their businesses, to their relationships. But the key essence of what I do is enabling people to connect to their true selves, which I call the soul's blueprint, and aligning this back into life and into their business and into all aspects of their lives in general.
Cool. So if you were able to do this tell me a little bit about who your clients are. Who are they?
So they are people who are either leaders in the business world or in the entrepreneurial world. They can also be individuals who are really connected to becoming their highest potential selves in life. So they are into personal development, personal growth. But majority of them, as I find, is they do happen to be either leaders or entrepreneurs with their own businesses. And then we have the individuals who are really into personal growth, attaining their own true selves, highest potential.
Okay. So either way, they're into growth. They're leaders in their business, either small business or in the corporate entrepreneurial space. Cool.
And it's so kind of amazing you mentioned the word growth, because that's how I explain it to people. I say to them, if you look at the word growth, then whether this is business related or personal related, I'm happy to explore that with you.
Cool. So if you were to reach 1 million people or maybe even bigger. I don't know, however big we want to make it. Like if you were to reach 1 million people with what you do. No, I want to rewind this. I'm rewinding that question. Okay. There we go. That's how we could do the magical energetic delete button.
Yeah.
You know, it has a little voice that says delete, delete, delete.
I love that.
So, okay. Let's leave all that behind for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
And we get out our magic wands, because I know you have one, Maggie. I have one too.
You do? We do.
And we're going to get out the magic wands. And you now live in the world that you would most like to see.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your vision for the world? Like your epic vision. So if you were going to complete the sentence, something like this: I dream of a world where ... What is that world?
Mm-hmm. I dream of a world where people are truly connected to who they are. And this is devoid of conditioning. And from that perspective, when people come together who are all connected at their very core in terms of who they are, they create this really impactful presence. And this world is a world where people know who they are, they know their contribution to the world, they come together and they create something impactful. Now, this could be from a business perspective, it could be from a personal perspective, it could be from a relationships perspective, it could be just from the home social environment perspective, but people are all connected. They are what I call internally influenced. And so from there, they reach out and come together. And when all people come together in a collective energy, which is pure and connected, then they can create something amazing, because they are not too interdependent on each other. They come together as whole, and then they bring what they have together to create something for the collective.
What would they be creating for the collective? Like, and we're just imagining into this, like the coolest things that you would see.
They are creating their world as they want it to be. Okay. And again, is a self-sufficient as well as a codependent world. See what I mean? So again, in this world, if I was to bring it into a world where it could be anything that they want to create, you know, what makes their livelihood amazing. Let's see, if we look at it from a very futuristic world, then, you know, what are they creating? They're creating things and situations that allows them to have time for their lives. So anything that, say, wastes their time, they have the ability to come together and create something that enables them to gain more time, more freedom on their time. And so they spend their time doing the things they really enjoy, basically. What else are they creating? They are creating the opportunity for people to come together, and the word that comes to mind is holistic, but then in a way it also feels a bit cliche, because what is holistic? But what they're creating is what they want, as individuals and as a group of people, which I call the collective. And this allows them to live in a way that is, as I said before, very independent, as in people don't necessarily tell you what you have to do to be accepted, but it's also very codependent in the perspective of they know the value that each and every one of them brings to the puzzle to create this collective puzzle that they all feed into.
Cool. Okay, so in this world, people are really connected to who they are, and they've dropped the conditioning that was keeping them from being themselves.
Exactly.
And as a result, they come together to create something both in their personal lives that's very independent and also
And
collectively, yeah, inclusive and
yeah,
respectful, and like uses what everyone
yeah,
else brings to the table at the same time to create something really amazing in the world,
yeah,
impactful, as you said. Like
yes, yeah.
what, and I'm curious, like you in that world, Maggie, what is the most impactful thing that you would want to create? Like if you could, if you could be known at the end of your
Hmm.
life for one thing,
Yeah.
like there, like what would you be known for? What do you want people to say? Maggie was known for this. Like this is the impact she had in the world. What would be
Yes.
your big impact?
So I'm known as the person who is able to help release structures that doesn't serve the world, this
Mm,
world, and bring in this continuous evolution. So they're always trialing things that serve them. As in every time that there are things, there are structures, there are things that they've created, maybe in a political setting, maybe in an organizational, institutional setting, that doesn't serve them any longer.
mm-hmm.
They are able to get rid of it and bring in. It's not a case of, this is how we've always done it, we're going to carry on doing it. I am known as the person who holds the torch to enable them identify anything that doesn't serve them anymore, both on an individual level or as a collective level. Get rid of that. So like the world is always cleaning itself out. As individuals, they are always clearing themselves out as well. Every time something comes in which is in direct conflict with this ideal world that they're in, their utopia world. And it's not to say that things coming into conflict is a bad thing either. They come in to enable people to learn and to move on and to compare what they like and what they don't like and why they don't like it and move on to the next level. But I am there as the person who enables them to see things clearly and remove what doesn't serve them as they go on this evolution journey.
Mm, cool. So, and I'm having an experience that I've had before with you, Maggie, of how brilliant your vision is on a very high level, like on a
Yeah.
very big picture, very strategic level that you can clearly see, probably reflected both in the individual and in the community, those things that don't serve, the structures, the
Yeah.
things that they built up that used to work, they used to do
Mhm.
something, systems, structures, organizations, whatever, like, no,
Yeah.
let's take them down. We don't
Yeah.
need these anymore,
Yeah.
because it's keeping the authentic expression of the evolution,
The
both
self and the
individual
people.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so it's both.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. So it,
Mhm.
yeah, so there's a piece in this that, to me, that I'm noticing, what I'm getting and what I'm
Mhm.
noticing is that it's not just the individual, and that's really important in this vision. It's like very
Mhm.
connected to the whole for
Yes.
you in
Yeah.
what you're, because you see it that way,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you experience it that way. Cool, cool. Okay, so what is, or what are, there might be, like, what are the top structures that you see your clients, the things that they have in place, the structures in their life that no longer serve them, that they need to get rid of or release?
Mhm. So one of the key ones is, I guess, conditioning. So what they need to do to be accepted, to fit
Mm,
into a box, to be accepted as being part of that community, because then they feel that when they accept it, then they can also accept themselves. But it's not always the case. So helping people to reverse that, to say you accept yourself and then people accept you, or they might not.
mm,
So that's on an individual level, that's what that could look like. On the collective, it's more to do with that same level of being accepted, but also not wanting to stick out, basically. So if this has been set up from the past and everyone came and went through the same path, then who am I to change it? Although I feel very strongly that if I did it this way, it could go this way. Actually, I have done this way and the result was pretty amazing, but I don't want to take it forward because I would be singled out and criticized for wanting to change a strong structure that everyone wants to just abide by and move on. So there again, it comes back to that individual. I want to be accepted, and I want to be accepted in terms of being seen as normal, for instance, by these standards. And most of the time, these standards are external factors to us, external standards to us. The other one is, again, within the bigger structure, then we have maybe some rules, some regulations, some ways of doing stuff, some processes, some leadership formats, for instance, some ways of communicating, kind of, verbal stuff that has been ingrained into us, as in that is the law, or that's how it's done, or this is what it is, although we have not necessarily had the opportunity to prove that it is, basically. Or it may have worked well for others, but maybe our world has changed, that kind of thing. Am I down to earth enough? Am I still hanging out there?
Yeah. Oh, this is, we're getting, like, I'm going to poke around. This is what I do. So, I'm just really really curious. I'm like, ooh, because I think that, okay, well, let me just poke around and see what comes up. So, all right. So now we're talking about these leaders that you serve, these people who, it sounds like they too, I suspect, have a connection to the change that they are making in the world, right? Like they want to have an impact, like in some way. They have a vision.
Yeah.
So for these people, what is that? What's the biggest type of conditioning? Like if you're going to take one down, like say, we're going to take it down, like we're going to just like say this one, like, and I'm curious about that, because do we take it down completely, or do we just like make it no longer the thing, the norm, the standard? What would that thing be for individuals and also for the collective, or however it occurs to you? What would that, if you could take one of these evidences, one of these big types of conditioning down?
So we'll look at, for the sake of this argument, we'll look at a leader who is part of a bigger institution rather than, say, a smaller one, entrepreneurial. So one of the biggest would be a conflict within the self. Right. And that conflict within the self, an aspect would say, you are so great at what you do, and look at your vision. You set this vision and 10 years later you did it, and you set this up and you've done it. Now, when it comes to success, you've checked all the boxes, and that is kind of the external feedback that this leader is getting. What introduces the conflict is, as this leader evolves and starts to look at the impact, and a bigger impact wants to emerge out of the self, what happens is that conflict that says, but there is more to me. And I think with this new phase, it has to be something different. It looks like it's different from what everyone would everyone would necessarily just go for in terms of just ticking the boxes, because it's a bit new to be introduced. And back to your question, which you were asking with regards to, do we take it out completely? Not necessarily. I think the best way to impact change, especially when it's collective change, is to come from the basics of what is known, and then drop in an idea from the point of view of, have you considered this? How about considering this? And those who are ready for it will start to look at it and if it's meant to make sense for them right there and then, it will start to make sense, and they can make that shift in a way that doesn't disrupt them too much. But again, for these types of leaders, that is what kind of helps their vision comes into fruition. Because again, being a leader and having a vision is one thing. You need the people to buy into that vision.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, depending on how new this new vision might be, you have to kind of get them to buy into it and meet them at their point of need, and people in a way get converted along the way, and it will be based on your own true actions and your own conviction that this is the new thing that you're birthing into the world, and you are so passionate about it because it feels right and true to you. And people will see that. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to say it in so many words, but people will see that. And again, like you, as you know, is that energetic impacts that you can have on people, to the extent that people who initially you thought, they will never go there, may start to do it because the energetic impact is working. And I have seen that a lot in a lot of these leaders that I work with, where they come to me and they go, oh, it's purely the business case, and we in a business issue, and we just going to go with the business. Are you okay to go with the business? I go, yes, let's do with the business. More often than not, less than halfway through, they will start to make that change, because the impact and the energetic impact of your work, even if you don't say it in so many words, will work its way, basically. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm liking this. So
is that internal conflict. One is, yes, everyone thinks I'm good and great and I don't really have to worry, but deep down I am not happy. And the reason why I'm not happy is that this new aspect is about to come out, and that it will be a key conflict for such a leader. And so they are on that search because they know a new phase is coming, and they need kind of a key, basically, to open the next door.
So let me just feed this back and see if I'm tracking with you on this. So it sounds like these leaders are really high achievers. They're performing. They have a lot of external evidence that they've done all the right things. They've checked the boxes for success, and yes, they're getting the validation. You're great at what you do. But inside of themselves, they know there's something more, and it's different from what they've done by checking the boxes. Do they know what it is? Or do they just feel it, like they're not sure?
Sometimes they know, and then again, because it's different from what they may have done before, then again it comes back to that thing of acceptance. People know me as this.
Yeah.
If I really totally reinvent myself into this, will I be accepted? And does that mean that I will lose everything else that I had worked for, that they so hold in high esteem? Although for now, well, it is still important, but I feel that this other thing bursting out of me is even more important. So sometimes they know, other times they just don't know, but they feel the unrest. They know that where they are or what they're doing now definitely does not give them the excitement that it used to, so they need to shift something. They just don't know what that looks like, but they know that they are just in a state of unrest because they know they have to do something else.
Yeah, I like this unrest. That feels resonant. So in a way, these particular people are being held back by their own success, because there's so much conditioning around them that reinforces this is success. You've got it. What do you mean you want to change things up? Like, that's, why do you need to change things up? Like, you have it. You're doing all the things. And people in their lives and the structures around them, the business environment, either the business they have or the corporate environment that they're in, seem to be reinforcing it.
Yeah. And guess what? There will be the home environment as well. You know, they like the social life. They like the fact that blah, blah, blah. They like the fact that, and here's the thing, they also like the fact that where they are gives them the social status. And maybe if this person knew what they would, hold themselves in this new world that they're trying to invent for themselves, it won't be of the same ilk as their social status that they know. So then there will be even the influences from home as well to say, are you mad? You know, what's this going on? Are you in some kind of midlife crisis or whatever? That kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So do you notice how your own journey in this is mirroring what you're describing right here as the conditioning your clients are facing?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
so tell me about that. What's that been like for you?
So
What are
my
what are
life,
you moving? Yeah, what are you moving out of and what are you moving into?
yeah. So I moved, and it's again, it's good that we're using this moving kind of word rather than moved out of.
Right.
Because even though I feel I've made a transition, is a very evolving transitioning for me, and I can imagine that it's going to keep evolving as I keep on. So, for instance, I have moved, that bit I have moved out of. So I've moved out of having a corporate career where I was a business consultant, sales leader, to one where I said I'll set up my own business and I'll still be a growth consultant and I'll do what I do, but this time I'll be able to treat my clients the way I wanted to treat them, or I would like, the way I want to treat them, because I am devoid of some of the constrictions in a political corporate structure. And I will be able to introduce some of the ideas and the blueprints that I was fortunate to be able to try and test in these environments that worked really well, although they were not the norm. And I'll be able to introduce this, and I have seen the results, and I can share it, and it will take root. And so at least I can start to impact people, and so they can get the results that they are so looking for, but they just don't have this new blueprints that I was able to try and test out with myself and others and get the results of. And then as I moved out, and then I realized, as you say, I'm still moving. And so I came out, and then very quickly when I started dealing with these clients, and I thought I was going to support them with this new idea that I had, or this new self of me that was bursting out. How did it manifest? First of all, I felt that even though I thought a lot of my world would easily buy into this new world because it wasn't that different, we were still talking about growth, it wasn't the case, and I wasn't recognized at all. It's like, well, we know you as this thing that you have now become. It's just not something we know, and even if we did, maybe we don't want to accept you as that. We don't even know how to refer you to other people. It is very bizarre. We just know us as this, and we feel comfortable knowing you as this person, right? And so then I had to go and find other people who would, other people who would again buy into the idea. And then when I found them, and I thought, it was going to be growth consulting, blah blah blah, I found that very quickly I realized that even though they came to me, I thought they needed growth, and they came to me saying they needed growth. Actually, it wasn't just business growth they needed.
Yes.
Surprise. They needed the personal growth, and whether they knew it or not, it just showed up in all the conversations quite systematically. But before then, as we all do, I had been on my own personal growth journey. And so before I stepped out completely to set up my own business, I kind of stepped into the space where the whole idea of really connecting to who I really was, having other gifts coming to me, which enabled me to connect with my own blueprint and understand how it was like to resolve some of these issues in my life, was going to be a part of the roadmap for this new business. And so very quickly I realized that even though they came to me with one problem, what they really also needed as part of resolving this problem was that personal growth aspect to come together with the business growth aspect. because it then enabled them to make those decisions that resolve their business growth problems, as well as other stuff within them that was bursting out to become. So an example would be they will set this vision to take their business from where they are to a big place somewhere. And even though they have set this vision and they feel that they've done it before, maybe there's new aspects within them that's coming up, because what they are going to come into is a phase where an aspect of them that is bursting out is different from, you know, what enabled them to be successful up to that point. Then some of what they used to do, or some of the tools and resources and their talents at that, up to that point, in a way, was not necessarily going to take them that next level. They needed to grow a level up, and with that came other gifts that they may have to tap into to be able to take them out there. And also, again, if this is very connected to, again, the type of person they are, from the perspective of, again, you know, we know our world is changing, the vibration of our planet is raising, and we know that certain things have to give way for new things to come in. So if they're part of, and that's kind of typical for most of the people who come to me, they're part of this new, introducing this new way of being, new way of leading, new way of doing things, new way of doing business, then it would be a completely different way. And then the challenge would be, how do I introduce it to other people? And I went through that as well. And of course I rejected that as well. You know, I was like, I'm not going to do that. They might think I'm mad, you know, that kind of thing. You know, who goes to the corporate world, or who goes to sit on a board and talk about spirit, or say the Akashic Records, which is one of the modalities I use to connect people to who they are. So yeah, so that was definitely part of my story as I moved. Where am I now on this moving journey? I have come to a place where I have now realized the importance of bringing business growth and personal growth together, the importance of really looking at the person as opposed to whatever problem the external environment is presenting for them, connecting them to who they are, and it's so much easier for them to resolve whatever problem they have. And now I'm also then moving into that phase where it's about helping people who are open to it, who feel they want to look at that as the next step, connecting with themselves even more, and it's about tapping into other aspects of the self. And so it might not necessarily be even business related, but it's about what are the other gifts that they want to bring to the fore as they connect more deeply with who they are. They're connecting with themselves in a different way as well. Maybe they're connecting to other aspects of themselves. They're bringing new gifts to come and support them do the work they're doing. They may be going even deeper in terms of connecting with other galactic beings that are connected to them, or other aspects of themselves. But for all that, for me, it's about enabling people to balance on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. And that idea of self-transforming. And so I keep moving. Who knows where I may move to, but that's what the journey looks like and feels like for me at the moment.
Yeah. So who are these people amongst your clients? Tell me specifically about, let's just say one person. You don't have to give their name. You can make up a name if you want.
Yeah.
Who is like most inspiring for you to be working with on this journey? So someone who has found themselves in this position of, you know, what made them successful, the identity they created that made them successful in particular, that's getting all these fabulous results, is no longer enough because it's holding them back now from creating this thing that's bursting out of them. You've used that phrase a couple times, and I really like it. It's like they can't contain it. And there are gifts and new tools and and things that are coming out of them. So can you think of one client?
So I can
really
tell
like
you
that?
the story. So I'll tell you Amy's story, not her real name. So Amy came from a background where she had been part of a bigger agency. And then increasingly she felt that, again, how things were going. And one of the specifics that she was telling me about when we first connected was the fact that She didn't like the idea of locking people into kind of contracts perpetually. She wanted to bring a new perspective in terms of gender balance. She works in a very technical field, and so she then decided to set up her own company and call it Pink. And the reason why she called it Pink was because she was bringing some feminine energy, and her very big calling was to change perceptions that certain technical fields were not suitable for the female, basically. And she knew that she was a female and she did really well in that world. And to be honest, what she also wanted to do, just like I wanted to serve my clients in a different way that wasn't necessarily possible within the constraints of my structures, she wanted to not necessarily pull wool over clients' eyes in this technical field. She wanted to be able to explain it to them in terms of what's happening in the background, and even give them the tools and train them to do it themselves if they wanted to. Anyway, but she approached me, and her first conversation was that she wanted to sell to bigger, larger clients. She had been doing well with smaller clients, and she wanted to break into mid-sized to corporate world. And she said, well, maybe something about me. Maybe it's because I don't have this kind of accent when I'm speaking the English language, and so people don't take me seriously. So right from the start, you know that, yes, we're talking about growth and business growth and having a strategy that and a messaging that enables her to sell to the corporates and the larger businesses. But you also know that she has got her barriers up already, you know. So we went through and what was gradually happening. And to be honest, that conversation evolved. We set up an engagement plan in terms of what we're going to do. But I also make it very clear to them that, yes, we are setting an engagement plan to make sure we have a structure, but it might change and evolve, you know, depending on how things evolve for you and your business as we go along this journey together. And I'm not going to set this in stone. And if you came to me and said, this has become a priority, we will stop and do that, because it has become a priority. Anyway, so we started doing that, and she was then, I think, again, coming back to the thing where we talk about business, and it's actually a combination. Yes, the business is presenting itself as the problem, but it's more, there's more underlying conditions around that. She was given the opportunity to apply for a couple of awards, and she was really excited about it. But again, it came through, you know, I'm really good, I know, but still, you know, what if I don't get the award? You know, what would that be? You know, that kind of thing. But we went through all of that. She got nominated to the final round for one of them, and then she got dropped on the other one, and she was really upset by that, because she thought that people who were put through were people that she could, you know, really do better than them. Mm-hmm. I said, that is fine. We need to, you know, take a step back and learn from it and move forward. Anyway, some of the things that were really remarkable during this journey with her is the fact that sometimes she'll come on the phone really upset that she's lost a couple of clients that week and blah, blah, blah. Her business is on a recurring subscription model. But mind you, she did say right from the start that I want people to go when they want to go. And I want them to stay so long as I'm being of service to them. That is what I bring to the world. So it wasn't too much of the people going, but the case of, it means that I'm losing business. It means that I must do something. I must do something. And I said, what is this telling you? People going actually creates this beautiful void for the right ones that you want to really attract into your business to come in. And most of the conversations we had was how some people were just hanging on for a long time on a lower subscription level that she wanted to raise. Guess what? Sometimes we'll have this conversation, and then we finish the session. She goes away. She gives me a text message or a call later. You wouldn't believe it. I had a call from this person, and her first line was, I want to just come on your service. Which one should I come on? Blah, blah, blah. And then she said, I sold them the higher level one. So this is a good example of, and she said before that when she decided to set up a business, she wasn't at all sure that this was the right thing to do. She's got a couple of kids. with her husband, and she thought that her husband's money was not going to be sufficient to support all of them. And yet she felt that she couldn't do anything else because, again, bursting, she needed to do this. Throughout the engagement, which was a period of 3 months, meeting every couple of weeks or so with some breaks when she went on holiday, she closed some really big deals. We went through proposals for bigger clients, some of which she won, others which she didn't. We took care of the learnings from there. We also found that towards the end, what she really wanted was not necessarily to sell to bigger clients. She needed to sell to, in the end, guess where we went? Medical practices and then private schools. That is how much we ended up niching, and she was really happy with that and stuck to that. She got some new clients from that space, and then even when our engagement ended, she has started picking up new clients, some of whom I come across and say, you will be a good fit for Amy. And I put them together. In the last month, she has closed 3 new deals from larger businesses, one in Germany, one in Israel, the other one possibly in Denmark. She did not necessarily have an international strategy, but what she always wanted was the opportunity to be able to have true balance for herself, her business, and her family. And that is really coming up very clearly in her business now, and she's very happy with it.
And I'm curious, Maggie, what were the, because you've talked about a little bit about this soul blueprint.
Yes.
And some of the new, the new ideas and blueprints and things that are not of the norm that you started discovering that work in the corporate world and work with individuals, but aren't traditional, and like, oh God, like, how do I even address this? What are some of the tools that you used with this Amy?
Yeah, so I'm a certified Akashic Records Consultant, and the Akashic Records is not something that everyone is familiar with yet, although it's become very popular. Well, it's growing in terms of knowledge, in terms of people understanding what it is. I tend to describe it in a way that meets everyone at their point of need, as in both scientific and spiritual. People can find where they want to be. So if I look at the concept, which is from a scientific one, we're looking at quantum science and neuroscience from that perspective, where we talk about DNA and we talk about who we really are and the core of every atom that forms whatever. So the concept of Akasha, which is a Sanskrit word, means the ether, which is kind of space, the etheric realm. For instance, in the spiritual world, they talk about the etheric realm. And if we look at Akasha as the ether, then the concept says that everything and anything that ever happened or is currently happening or could potentially happen in future, potentially evolutionary paths, is recorded in the DNA of the universe, which means that on a collective level, then the Akashic Records could be likened to something like Google, where you go in and go, I want to find information about this, and you type in it and everything about that comes up, and then you kind of decide what you want to do with it, basically. And then on the personal level, then again, everything that's ever happened in the universe is currently happening and it could potentially happen. It's recorded in the universe's DNA, basically. And then when we talk about the personal Akashic Records, then it's our own personal records. And then a perfect explanation for that, I don't know if it's perfect, but how I would explain it is that as we come into form, as we take embodiment as souls, then there's a field of energy that starts to record everything about us, every thought, every event, every decision that we take or make. And so everything about us in the past, and when I say the past, it could include like past lives that the soul has lived, into the present, and then for potential future paths. And the future is never set in stone. It just depends on the actions and what we take now, the decisions we make now. It's still recorded in our DNA. And so in a typical Akashic Records session, which I also sometimes call purpose development session, just to make it more open to people, they want to really identify the core purpose or how the purpose is developing into something else so they can connect with it and birth it into the world. Then people will come to me with any baffling questions about their life or their business or whatever. And I am a conscious channel certified as an Akashic Records Consultant. And so people will ask these baffling questions. I open their records for them, so enabling them to tap into their own DNA or into their Akashic records. And then as they ask their questions, I receive information for them. And it does make so much sense to them because, again, remember, it's their own soul level information. Mm-hmm. And even the session itself carries with it a very healing energy, which also helps them connect to remember who they really are. They will go, oh, that's why I'm always fascinated by this. Oh, well, that completely makes sense. And to be honest, sometimes what comes up, it doesn't make sense to me. There was this lady in Canada the other day that I was doing a session for, and she was asking a question about her in relation to her two daughters in terms of how can I best be a mother to them, that kind of thing. And then I started seeing some reptiles like lizards and, alligators. And explained to me where I'm seeing alligators, and she bursts laughing. And the reason is that her daughters are really fond of reptiles. It's probably lizard or something, they really love it. So then because of that, then that was the analogy and the picture, the information that was being described in terms of, so the best way of describing it is I receive the information from them depending on who they are. If they're very visual, then they will receive a lot of visual images with an explanation of why they're seeing that picture. If not, they might receive it in words. Otherwise, they might receive download of information, but there's that underlying healing because they're connected to their blueprint, then they receive whatever healing they need to receive to enable them move forward in confidence, basically. So they will know that they've been connected to who they are. And then, so a session takes about 60 minutes and then it's done. And then whatever comes up in terms of what needs to be done to correct something or to remove something that doesn't serve them anymore, they get really practical solutions on how to do that. And if they need some additional mentoring from me to do that, I can support them with that. Otherwise, they just carry on. And most of the time, they'll come back a few weeks and say, or a few months and say, this and this happened. There's so much of what you said came through and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, so that's an example of a tool that I use to help them connect with their blueprint to enable them on their journey.
Yeah. Are there other of these tools that you could just even briefly mention without going into a description? Because I want to. Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating, and I'm glad that you did. Yeah. Because I think it's a part of this whole thing, because I'm going to bring it back around to what we were initially talking about and see what connections we can like put together. Exactly. So other tools.
So the Akashic Record is kind of the personal growth connection tool. I have a methodology called human-centered selling or human-centered growth. Methodology is a combination of existing methodologies like consultative selling, value selling, and outcome selling. What I bring to the table is the ability to connect more deeply with your customer or your prospect, to enable that journey from the prospect phase into the client's phase, and for it to grow into a deeply connected relationship, which makes your clients stay with you. And it also means that they spend more with you because they're more open, you're both open and authentic to each other. They share more of their problems, and if you do have a solution for that, you offer that solution, and that's what brings in the cross-sell and upsell opportunities for you, that kind of thing. So it's part of growing your business. What other tools? So yes, the human-centered growth and human-centered selling methodology. I do things like prospect journey maps, customer journey maps, to help you understand what the journey map for you and your prospect looks like, what it looks like once they become a client as well, and how you communicate this so you get the buy-in from the person you're dealing business with right from the start. Yeah, and with some people, it becomes an advisory session. So I sit on a couple of boards where I just go in and they tell me what's going on. I listen to it and I give some input as well.
So with Amy, with Amy specifically, you
Yeah,
used the Akashic Records. You used aspects of human-centered selling, human-centered
yes,
growth, deeply
yeah,
connect, but with your twist or your deepening that brings a
yes,
deeper
yes,
connection for
yes,
more open, authentic relation, which sounds like it was perfect for her business and the way she was wanting to run it.
yeah. We
And
also used a tool that is kind of very widely accepted, but I've adapted that into my business, what I call the scale of consciousness, but it's also called the emotional scale by David Hawkins, where you look at your state, your emotional state, and then shift from a lower vibrational state to a higher vibrational state.
Mhm.
You know, so if you're really nervous about an award that's about to happen and, you know, what if I don't win it, blah, 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 just take a step back and say, do I want this feeling? Am I in the right emotional phase now? If not, what can I do? And just showing them some tricks that can help them move from that state to at least courage, which is kind of the stage where they can start to take it up into other higher vibrational emotions. So yeah.
cool. Okay. So here's what I'm hearing, and I'm going to toss this out in a couple different ways, Maggie, for you to take
Yeah.
from it, discard whatever you'd like. I'm wondering, so this is what I'm hearing. Okay, let me see if I could do this. This is going to be rough because I'm going back to some of my notes, but this is fun. All right. So
I love fun.
it's like literally my middle name. No, it's not. It should be. It should be Play. Play should be my middle name, I think. So it's sort of like you've ticked all the boxes for success.
Mm-hmm.
You're known for being the best at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something more that's bursting forth. And it doesn't fit the old way of doing things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You have a vision of tremendous impact. And now what made you successful is exactly what's holding you back. In order to move into this new way of being, this new vision of impact that you have for what you do, it's going to be different for different people, right? But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like they see something else, you see something else that's possible for your industry, for your profession, for your career path, for your customers, for your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not accepted. It's not okay. It's not normal in the current way of doing things.
Yes. Or sometimes they think it will not be accepted.
Right. Or you think it seems like you're not sure.
Yeah.
How are you going to do this thing in
Mm-hmm.
this world?
Mm-hmm.
So what you need is to reconnect with who you really are,
Mm-hmm.
your soul's blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
and get clear on what's the new way of doing things. It could mean starting your own business, changing the way you do business completely. It could mean communicating differently, bringing new offers, and the confidence that you no longer need that. You no longer need the approval of others because you give yourself that approval to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It
So
could also mean introducing a new blueprint into the existing organization.
yes, right. Like it could mean any of these things. We don't know what it is yet. Like, but but there's a big change and it's bursting out of you.
Transformational.
Right. And what got you here is actually what's holding you back in this moment.
I like that.
So now we're not gonna throw away all of the things that you've learned. In fact, you're bringing that with you. This is a reinvention.
Yeah.
In alignment with your soul's blueprint. So what I'm getting here is like, and and there's a bigger movement here that I hear you, like I heard you kind of, it's hinted at here, that there's a new way of doing business.
Yeah.
You know, and certain things need to give way so that new things can come in. and you're a part of that movement in what you're creating and the evolution of the impact you have in your business, in your industry, and in the world. Join me. It's like, this is where like you let them see. Yeah. Yes. So it reaches them on a deeper level that's very aligned. Now, here's where I'm not sure, because there are different things. I think you do a really beautiful job of like integrating this, the spiritual and the scientific, the practical, I'll go the same way, the kind of esoteric and the practical, like you're bringing them together. And my sense is that you'll probably start doing that a little bit more, but I don't think you have to hit them over the head with it. Like these people you're going to reach are coming from the world of probably traditional business, and they know that they need to leave it. And they probably have some non-traditional practices, or maybe they're getting into yoga, mindfulness, meditation, right? Like,
definitely.
but they don't, but they're going to be turned off by a full-on onslaught of woo, right? Like,
and they don't even need that either. And and it's really good that you supported that, because, and that's why for me it's about meeting everyone at their point of need. It's just incredible how you just, for some people, you just do what they're asking for right now, but somehow they just get the energetic resonance somehow, and before you realize, they come back on the next call and start talking about woo-ish stuff. And you still put them where they, meet them at that point of need, how deep they want to get. And some people don't need to.
And I think that's a piece. The piece in there too is that to let them know, like, as a part of working with you, like, this is, yes, you're going to get what you need to get you to the next level of your business, but it's going to be by addressing and reconnecting with who you really are and your purpose. And you can call it your through purpose, the purpose development session. Which we will, whatever, you could actually talk to that a little bit, but like, where we're going to deal with, you're going to evolve as a person in the ways that are going to help your business evolve, so that they know and they're open to it, right? But but it's still focused on their business. You have this vision, you have this impact, you have this change you want to bring into the world. And I don't think you have to go full on woo at all, but a little bit in there is going to get the right people. They're going to love it. Like, they'll eat it up. So like, I was thinking in your tools, you can say, you can even call it, there's something that's a little bit more in between than purpose development session, but even if you said that, you can say, like, in which we'll draw from and we will access your Akashic records for your business and for yourself, that use and using the principles of quantum science and neuroscience to connect to the core of who you are, to your soul's blueprint. You could actually call that a soul blueprint session, which isn't necessarily woo in itself, but it's a little bit more, it's less than Akashic records, like you could kind of, you could tweak it. And giving, I would love, again, I'm just poking around, right? All this, take it or leave it.
I love it.
Like, there's something more than human-centered selling. There's a name for that, growth, because you've taken this thing that, like, people might be familiar with, people-centered, human-centered selling, something like this. There's something you're bringing to this that's more deeply connected and aligned, right? Which makes sense with this, that could be reflected in the name that becomes now your process, and the same with the customer and prospect journey maps. That's something that we're familiar with, but there's a way that I suspect you're kind of tweaking or reinventing that, or a way that there's some kind of a process here that you could name in such a way that just highlights the distinction, like what makes you different. It's because what you're doing is exactly what, so cool, right? Is exactly what your people are wanting to do, which is finding a new way of doing business. That I loved what you said.
That brings
results. It builds on the foundations that have worked, but recognizes the things that are ready to go to make something new. You said that somewhere very clearly in here, and it's not jumping out at me. So I'm kind of questioning, like, how much of this do you want to put in here around some things that came out, like the vibration of the planet is rising, and there's a new way. But I really like this. There's a new way of leading and doing business. Certain things need to give way in order for these new things to come in. Personally, in your evolution personally, and in your business, in the collective, right? So it's like both. And holding that vision for them and calling them to it. And you've got to stop. Like, I don't know that you go this directly, but this is going to be in there. Stop looking for external validation. You need to accept yourself to allow your gifts to come forward in the fullness of what they truly are.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. What do you think about Create Balance mentoring? Because that's the name of my mentoring program. You were talking about something that's in between Purpose and Akashic Records. But yeah, so what do you think about Create Balance?
Create Balance.
I put them together, so I've called it Create Balance mentoring program.
What's a word, or some of the words that came out?
And it's about, for me, it's about, again, very connected to when they're connected to who they are. Then it's about also creating balance physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Balance.
But then it's balance. Balance also means anything. It could mean balancing masculine, feminine energies. Yeah. It's about balancing life and business. It's balancing anything.
I mean, balance is a good word, but I want something like, and I'm just like, this is just at a gut level, like there's something that's a little more specific and resonant. Like there's a word for you. You used the word reinvention. And when you say it to me, something like you used the word unrest, and it like unrest was like, ooh, and reinvention and like when you say blueprint, it means something different to you. Like it means like blueprint resonates when you say it, because I feel like
because
it's
because
actually
energetically I'm a blueprinter as well.
Okay,
so
cool. So that's why like when you say it, it has more fullness to it, right? So I think playing with some of those words, and I'm not sure, like that would be kind of another conversation to have to really pull them out. Because what I found with you is this is really cool. You have such a big, it's a gorgeous big picture. And I just like need to like come down so we can get enough specifics to bring it in so that it really reaches. Because once we get to this piece of the movement, now it's a movement for this paradigm shift in business. And these, I feel like saying women, they're probably not only women, but I bet a lot of them are women.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So a lot of my personal growth clients may be women. A lot of my business growth clients are men. And and then these are the ones who start with a business question, and then somehow in the middle, you know, that Akashic thing you mentioned, can we use the next session for that? And then you're like, oh my God. It
feels like you're still in that transition of finding where you want to be, and it feels really good to work in both of those worlds, and to get like a little clear on the mission, because it's going to inevitably draw those people without even having to call out the woo. Because if you did that, they would probably go, oh no, I can't possibly, you know, they'd be like, what? But when you
that defeats the object of my work, because every time I pull out of that world, I get pushed back in. I mean, my very first Akashic Records session is like, is your roadmap? And I'm like, well, I'm going to the corporate. Who takes that as a roadmap to the corporate world? But I can understand why, because when I speak, it feels right for them. And the worst thing you can do is to confuse what is going on already, because it's happening energetically, and you don't want to drop in things that, you know, so that whole idea of meeting people at their point of need is so important. And over time, I also feel that I also know that people actually hear what they need to hear at every given time, and they can take it exactly the way they're meant to take it at that time, and it helps them on their journey until they're ready for something extra, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's room for you to
But I
be.
really love that. I really love what you said. Like, you don't have to go woo to be accepted for the woo work that you do.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna feel it.
Yes,
These are
exactly.
like
That is so
woo
much what
light.
I'm seeing. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're woo
Yeah.
light, and they're headed more that way, but they don't quite know it yet. Like they're
Yes. They may do the odd yoga because they had there's so many, or they may do a mindfulness session
Mhm.
because they had there's so much proven benefits of being mindful.
But I think what
Yeah.
they're all going to get regardless is what it sounds like what's at the core for you is that there's a new way of doing things. You've got to let
Yeah.
way of your old, and you've got to make space for the new
Yeah.
gifts. And
Yes.
that's an interesting word to use too. Like
Yeah.
that could be interpreted many ways, like
Yeah.
spiritual gifts. And for many of
Talent.
them, it will be. But
Yeah.
I like that because it kind of hints at the
Yeah.
deeper spiritual stuff that you're doing
Yeah.
in a way that it feels like the right combo. It's in between.
Yeah.
Not too
Yeah.
heavy, not too
And
light.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate this. And I talk about things like learned skills and innate ability. And again, is that kind of transition from, yes,
Ah.
there is what you've learned and your education and what you've learned on your job, but that innate ability is what you have within you already. And you can tap more into that. And when I speak to leaders, I'm like, enable your teams to bring both of them together, because that's what is going to help you be top performers in your world and in your industry, that kind of thing. So it's about, again, using their words, communicating with them in a way that doesn't kind of disrupt too much, but they know that they're being ebbed towards the direction that they have been longing to go, or they already see happening, but they're not sure how to kind of go towards anyway. So, yeah.
Cool. And to bring this back to what you initially mentioned, in getting a response, a message that elicits a response, story, of course, is really powerful. So
Yeah.
I would, my suggestion for you would be to start playing with, just for you to start, like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if
Yeah.
you've done this, like
Mhm.
telling your story that you kind of just shared with me in this conversation of, I was in this world and I ticked all the boxes of success. It mirrors your ideal client, right? And I knew there
Mhm.
was something more bursting out of me. And so what did I do? But there were things that I was using that were not traditional in my industry, and I was constricted. I was restricted in what I could do in this environment. So for you, that meant I started my own business, and but I realized my old identity didn't fit for me anymore. And I was going to have to create this new thing. And, like that story and what you
Mhm.
discovered that happened when you use these things to align with your soul's blueprint, or however you want to express it,
Mhm. Yeah.
your deeper purpose, that, wow, you were able to reinvent and use all those beautiful things that you have and have deeper impact and more meaningful
Mhm.
impact and reach more
Mhm.
people and all of that stuff. I think telling that story, especially from the point of view of the dilemma of, like, something doesn't fit and I know I need to change, but I'm scared. I
Mhm.
like, what's going to happen? Am I going to lose everything I've built because
Mhm.
now people don't recognize me anymore? All these connections
Mhm.
and these beautiful experience and all these years of this network I have. Do I have to dump
Mhm.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And funny
ugh!
enough, it felt like I was dumping it, but then they
But you
also
didn't.
back.
Yeah.
But then I had to be brave to go out and start finding new networks. And I got some. And so again, for me, my business started abroad more. Like, I started getting international clients more than local clients. And then in the last 18 months, my UK business, as in my local business, started to grow. And my previous network is coming back to me and offering me business. And this time they're not even challenging it, because they've had the opportunity to watch me thanks social media. So it's that as well. So yeah. Or they feel the energetic resonance as well, in terms of, again, you don't have to use words. People just can know and feel that they want to work with you, or they like what
Yeah.
you're doing. And even if they don't want to work with you, they acknowledge it, and some of them will just refer someone to me. They go and speak to that person. I think she can help you. So yeah.
Super cool. Yeah. And what you're saying is so true. Like, it's never the words. It's never the words. And yet the words rest on the energy. And so there's a value in using words and communicating something in a way that makes it easy for people to recognize what you do and how you can help them and, what's in it for them. It lets them fit it into their world in a sense.
Yes.
It's always the energy they're responding to. But the process of finding the words in that, doing that, we need to clarify our energy. So it's like they're happening together. It's not one or the other. You can't do them separately, really, in a powerful way. So, cool.
Yeah. So you say one word and they take the meaning and take the action from there. So and that's why the word has to be right as well. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Maggie. This has been really cool. I have a deeper understanding of what it is that you do and what it's doing in the world that is very exciting to me. Like, I'm feeling inspired about now, just for me, hearing about the movement that you're a part of, that, you didn't start out articulating it that way, but you certainly are, is inspiring for me. Cool. So what's your biggest insight that from this conversation today that you're taking away?
The aha moment. I've had many aha moments from this conversation. So for me, hearing you play back what I said and what really resonates for me. I said to you before that if I was able to say something and the audience is able to find that resonance or is able to react in a way that means they get it and it would possibly work for them, that would be kind of half the work done for me. A lot of the words that you picked up on when you were reading were fabulous, because they are words that mean a lot to me, and they are words that I guess I wish I could use more in my messaging. And so getting that playback from you, I was kind of holding myself from saying validation, but again, in a way it's validation as well. But getting that playback from you really helps, because then I know that I can go back to my messaging and go, okay, well, this resonates. And so, or this is powerful, is a big part of the story I'm telling, or the message I'm sharing out there for people to connect with. So yeah, no, it's been incredibly powerful. So I've had some good aha moments, and I've had some really good reaction from you, and the feedback has been awesome. That is on top of the tall order that I ordered for today. So thank you so much.
Awesome. So fun. So Maggie, where can people connect with you? Where should we send them to connect with you after this?
They can connect with me on my LinkedIn profile, which is Maggie Sarfo.
I'll link to it under this.
Yep. They can connect with me on Instagram as well, same name, Maggie Sarfo, and on Facebook, Maggie Sarfo. And then my website is merisconsult.com, which is MERES consult, as in CONSULT.com. And it talks about the business growth work and the personal growth work and how they merge. And if you want to follow what I get up to from a blogging perspective, then it's maggiesarfo.com. And I get excited writing about business growth, personal growth, Akashic Records, and everything in between.
So it's got like a mix of all that stuff there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie. This has been amazing.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, Stephanie. And thank you so much for giving me space in your life and on your show.
My pleasure.
And for your audience as well. Thank you to everyone who'll be listening as well.
Hey, thanks for joining me for today's Wildspire conversation. If you'd like to receive a weekly Wild Creation email from me filled with more inspiring stories, marketing experiments, playful questions, new podcast episodes, videos and freebies, and anything else I'm playing with, go to theawakenedbusiness.com/wild creation. Until next time, may you know yourself as the gorgeous wild creation you are.